Evil is here. It's walking amongst us. Michael is more evolved.
Rob Zombie completes his extreme vision of a terrifying legend.
Kill her, baby.
Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 came out in the year 2009. This was the first time that I had a chance to see a Halloween movie on the big screen. And because of that, I've always had such a special attachment to this particular film in the Halloween franchise. No, I'm not saying it's the best movie in the Halloween franchise, but you never forget the first time you see Michael Myers on the big screen. And I know a lot of fans of the Halloween franchise are not the biggest fans of this film because of some of the weirder directions that Rob Zombie took Michael Myers and the Halloween story in this movie. But if you look back at some of the interviews that Rob Zombie gave about the horrible experience he had making the Halloween movies for the Weinsteins, it turns out that that was a pretty bold move that he made, going in some of those bolder directions in this film. And I'm not saying that those bolder directions necessarily work for me. Some of them do, some of them don't, but that's what this review is all about. I'm excited to get into Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And so today I'm continuing on with my review series for the entire Halloween franchise, where I'm watching and reviewing each and every one of the films in the Halloween franchise and releasing those videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the month of October 2025, leading up to the scariest day of the year, Halloween, where I'll be dropping a full ranked list of the entire Halloween franchise from the worst to the best. So let's do the review for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Michael Myers is alive.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
So Halloween 2 would bring back the cast of that original Rob Zombie Halloween. We would get Scout Taylor Compton back as the baby sister of Michael Myers, Laurie Strode. We would also get Danielle Harris back as Annie Brackett, the sheriff's daughter and friend to Laurie Strode. Malcolm McDowell would reprise his role as Dr. Loomis, while Tyler Mane would come back as the monstrous Michael Myers. We would also get Sherry Moon Zombie back in this film as the mother of Michael Myers, and I didn't mention her specifically in my review for Rob Zombie's Halloween, and that was because I didn't want to get repetitive, and I knew I was going to want to talk about her more in this movie, so that's why I'm mentioning her now. I'm recording all of these reviews in advance, so I don't know if anybody's come into the comment section of that first Halloween film saying, you didn't even mention Sherry Moon Zombie. I wanted to wait on purpose because she plays such a bigger role in this film. The movie opens up right after the first film. You've got Michael Myers laying on the ground, supposedly dead, with a bullet to the head from Laurie Strode. Laurie Strode is covered in blood, still hysterical. The police and paramedics show up. They run inside, get Loomis, load him into an ambulance. They take Laurie Strode, load her into an ambulance, and then a bunch of paramedics get together. They lift up Michael Myers on a stretcher, put him in the back of the ambulance to be taken to the morgue. And on the way to the morgue, the paramedics in the ambulance are having the exact conversation you would expect them to be having in a Rob Zombie film. It's a pretty filthy conversation, and because they're distracted and laughing with each other, they don't see a cow that's in a road. They hit the cow head on. It totals the ambulance, and that jolt apparently brings Michael Myers back, because the next thing that happens is he gets out of the ambulance, walks around to the paramedic that's still alive, and then proceeds to cut his head off with a piece of glass that he picked up off the ground. It's a pretty nasty opening to this movie, and then Michael Myers sets his sights on the hospital and starts making his way there. And it's at this point that I assumed when I was first watching it that they were redoing the events of that original Halloween 2. Laurie's been taken to the hospital, they're treating her there, and you've got Michael Myers on his way to the hospital, and eventually he gets there and he just brutally makes his way through the nursing staff, through security, trying to get to Laurie Strode. And the scene is one of my favorite scenes in the entire franchise. I love the setting, the rain outside. It was actually raining and they just used that to their advantage. It was downpouring and you just feel so uncomfortable while you're watching Laurie try to get away from Michael Myers. She eventually hauls up in a guard shack and he breaks through the wall to get to her, and just just as he's about to grab her, she snaps out of a nightmare that she's having, and you find out that we're actually 1 year removed from the events of that first Halloween film. Yes, Laurie Strode was taken to a hospital. Yes, Michael Myers was loaded into that ambulance, but after it crashed, he just sort of vanished into the night. He never actually attacked her at the hospital. We then catch up with the main characters of this film. It's October 30th. Laurie Strode is now living with the Brackets. Of course, her step-parents were killed in that first movie, so now she's living with her best friend Annie and her father, the sheriff, and maybe she feels safer there because the sheriff is there. Either way, we've now caught up with Laurie, and Laurie herself is dealing with a ton of trauma from the events of that first film. She's seeing a therapist, but she's still having these reoccurring nightmares of Michael Myers coming after her, and throughout the film, she starts to have these visions of Michael Myers' mother, Michael Myers as a young boy, and a white horse. And while all of that is going on, you've got Dr. Loomis, who's now sold a book revealing to the world that Laurie Strode is Michael Myers' little sister, something that Laurie Strode was not aware of until this book came out. And Dr. Loomis himself has really taken on a new persona in this film, something that a lot of fans don't like because he is totally different this time around than he was in the first movie. I chalk that up to how he deals with his own personal trauma from that first movie. Remember, Michael Myers tried to kill him as well, and he was trying to help Michael for so long, and he ended up having to take a gun to Michael Myers because Michael Myers was so out of control. So maybe because of not wanting to blame himself, he's now changed his persona to just a complete and total dick. That's the only way I can really understand why Loomis had such a change of pace from the first movie to the second. But again, now he's on this book tour and he's just relentless about being in the right. And from there, we get to the main event, Michael Myers, who's now making his way back to Haddonfield because he's sort of being controlled by his ghostly mother and visions of himself as a young boy and that same white horse that Laurie has been seeing. And so now you've got Michael Myers and Laurie Strode sort of having the same visions. And while Laurie Strode doesn't really know what to do with those visions, Michael Myers now takes it upon himself to go back to Haddonfield and kill his way to his baby sister Laurie. And that is the best synopsis that I can give you for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. If that sounds like a fun time and you haven't given this movie a chance yet, I would highly recommend that you do. We are getting closer and closer to Halloween, so I would make this a movie you watch before Halloween this year. Now we are going to get into my positives and my negatives for Halloween 2 here in a second, but before we do that, if this is the first time you found my channel, well, I would love for you guys to hit that subscribe button, check out all the different content that I have, whether you like movie reviews, Blu-ray talk, or even ranked list videos. I've got a ton of content on my channel, and I'd love for you guys to check it out. All right, let's get into my positives and my negatives for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Only a river of blood can bring us together again.
No, there's no one out here.
We are all counting on you to take us home this year.
My first positive for this movie is going to be that brutal opening nightmare scene of Michael Myers at the hospital. Of course, we felt like they were going to repeat the events of Halloween 2, and of course, we felt that because they just repeated the events of the original Halloween in Rob Zombie's first Halloween movie. So when he goes to the hospital, you're like, all right, we're going to spend the movie here. And while they don't spend the movie there, and I kind of am back and forth on that, maybe they should have, although taking it in a new direction was at least doing something new for the franchise. But I love that opening scene. It kicks off with such a bang with Michael Myers getting out of that ambulance, cutting off the head of the paramedic, going straight to the hospital, and then it's just brutal kill after brutal kill after brutal kill as Michael makes his way to his sister. And I love that scene so much. There's so much energy in that scene. It kicks the movie off in such a great way as Laurie's trying to get away from Michael. Michael's killing his way through the staff. Laurie might be safe in the security shack, and then when the guard comes over and is making all that noise, what are you doing in there? What are you doing? You're like, dude, shut up. And then Michael Myers comes for him, and then Michael Myers just busts his way through that guard shack. And it really makes me wonder what Rob Zombie's interpretation of Halloween 2 would have been if he was told, keep Michael at that hospital the whole time, just do another shot for shot. And again, I'm not necessarily looking for that, but it does make me wonder because I loved this scene so much. It's my favorite part of this entire movie, but overall, what would have happened if he kept him there the whole time? It just would have been cool. So anyway, I love this scene and I wanted to make it a positive. My next positive for this movie is going to be something we've covered several times in this review series so far, and it is the mask of Michael Myers. I love the look of the mask in this movie. It might be my second favorite mask of the entire franchise. Just that mask being beat to hell. Maybe that's why I love the Halloween Kills mask so much, because half of it is just burnt to hell while the other half looks normal. I love the look of that mask, but in this film, the mask of this movie, you already have a dirty mask from the first movie. It was under those floorboards. It's kind of moldy, kind of dirty. It's definitely not cleaned at all in the time that it's just been sitting in that Myers house. And now you've got him wearing it after he's been shot, after people have hit him in the face. And it's just a really nasty looking mask. And at one point in this movie, he's attacking a girl who grabs a piece of the mask and rips it off. And it just shows that this mask continues to deteriorate. But one of the other things I really like about this mask is that Rob Zombie plays with the idea that this mask might give a little bit of extra power to Michael Myers. It's never specifically said, but throughout this film, he's kind of walking around. He's the big bearded Michael Myers this time. You don't really ever see his face too well, but when Michael Myers is ready to go, when he's going to take somebody on, he puts that mask on. So I don't know if that gives him confidence. I don't know if that's just his thing. He's not going to kill without the mask, but throughout the film, if he puts that mask on, he means business. And that's something that I think the 2018 trilogy would play with down the road, that mask might give Michael a little bit more of those abilities that he has, that supernatural edge that he has. Again, it's never specifically said. That's just me as a fan watching this movie and thinking, why, when he puts that mask on, does he go to 100? Is there something about that mask? And again, I think it's cool that Rob Zombie kind of kicked that off and that it was something that was toyed with down the road. My next positive in this movie is going to be the look of Haddonfield. While Rob Zombie's films are darker and grittier than movies that have come out before, and this is a very dark and gritty Haddonfield, I think he does a great job capturing that fall atmosphere, that Halloween atmosphere so damn well. Something that previously in this franchise, Halloween 4 had done the best. And I think maybe he captures it a little bit better than Halloween 4. Although they're neck and neck with each other, I really like the look of Haddonfield in both of those movies. But for this movie, it's a positive because I think he does a great job with the overall look of Haddonfield. Now, this is a Halloween film. We're talking about Michael Myers, and you know, it's going to get brutal and it's going to get bloody. And that's my next positive. Michael Myers is such an imposing force once again, but he's also so incredibly brutal. Like, as brutal as Michael Myers was in Rob Zombie's first Halloween, they take it to the next level in this film. And that's the job of a sequel. Take things that people liked and bring them to the next level. So if you liked the way that Michael Myers acted in the first movie, you're going to get so much more of that in this second movie. He's even grunting his way through this film, something that I don't think we've heard Michael Myers do before. We've heard him breathe. We've never heard him talk, but in this film, he's grunting. Now, I know in the unrated director's cut of this film, Michael actually says a word. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I disagree with that. I agree with all of you guys that that should never have happened. It should never have been a thing, and that director's cut should never be watched. But if you just take the theatrical cut of this film, where we do hear Michael grunt throughout those kills, it just adds to the brutality. Like, as he's killing people, he's so angry about it, and you hear that from him, and you hear that from his knife as it goes into people. Again, it's so brutal. It goes to the next level, and it does exactly what it needs to do. There's one scene in particular where he goes to a strip club, the same strip club that his mom worked at back in the day. He kills everybody in there, but he's so brutal about it, especially the guy he meets outside. Yeah, I don't think you actually see him die, but you see what Michael did to his corpse after the fact, or you see him hanging in the strip club later, and it's pretty brutal. So again, I think the Rob Zombie does a great job taking that brutality of Michael Myers and bringing it to the next level, which we expected in a sequel. And my final positive for this movie has a good side and a bad side. That's why I saved it for last, and that would be the trauma that Laurie Strode has throughout this film. I think on the positive side, I think they do a good job exploring that, not just ignoring it like she just moved on right away. Like, it was only a year ago, so of course she's still dealing with that trauma. We never really saw Laurie Strode in previous entries removed 1 year from Michael Myers attacking her. Of course, in one timeline of this franchise, we saw 20 years after Michael Myers had attacked her and how she was mentally. We saw her later on in this franchise, 40 years after Michael had attacked her, but we've never seen her 1 year later, which is where we catch up with Laurie Strode this time around. And so I think it's great that he had her going to a therapist. I think that it's great that Rob Zombie had her dealing with that trauma, and he did a great job having her express that trauma throughout this film. But why it's a positive and a negative is because on the negative side of this, she is very back and forth throughout this movie, and I don't love how back and forth she is. For instance, at one point in this movie, she's freaking out out because she finds out that Michael Myers is her brother. She reads an excerpt from the book that Dr. Loomis wrote, and she realizes she is the baby sister of Michael Myers. She had no idea in the events of the first film that she was being attacked by her brother, and now it's just really weighing on her, and it's almost a really impactful scene if it wasn't for the next scene where we catch up with her and her friends, where she's like standing up on a table wanting to go drinking and dancing and just not worry about life. And she's just like, we have to go celebrate life. And it's like, you were just horrified at the information you found out, and then you just immediately flipped around and you're just happy and ready to go out on Halloween night. You could say, okay, she's trying to put that behind her, but that happens so many times in this film where she's one way, and then in the very next scene, maybe they didn't even leave that scene, they just have her transition to just absolutely being a completely different way. And I don't love the way that that's written. And it's possible that she's written like that because she's starting to break, because the evil of Michael Myers or the curse of Michael Myers is starting to creep inside of her. And so that's why they have her act that way. I guess there's all kinds of ways you can look at that. So again, that's why I made the trauma of Laurie Strode in this film a positive and a negative, because I think it's handled really well in some moments and then really horribly in others. And that'll lead directly into my first negative, and that is, again, the way that Rob Zombie writes Laurie Strode throughout this film. That was a gripe I had for the first movie, and here we are yet again in my negatives talking about the way that he writes Laurie Strode. She's just written so differently than we've ever seen Laurie written before, and it doesn't always work. Again, I gave it a positive for how they handled her trauma 1 year later, how she's dealing with the aftermath of having to deal with Michael Myers, but just the way she's written, the way she talks with her friends, it's so Rob Zombie style disgusting, and that's such a breakaway from that original Laurie Strode character that yet again, it doesn't work for me, so it had to be a negative. And my other negative for this movie is going to be the overall story of why Michael Myers is going back to Haddonfield, and that includes something that I think most Halloween fans can agree on, and that's the inclusion of the ghost Michael Myers' mother and the white horse, something that I think was completely unnecessary in this movie and takes me out of the film every single time that I watch it. As much praise as I give this movie, as much fun as I have with the kills in this film, every single time I have to stop and watch Michael Myers stare at his mom or stare at the white horse, or I have to wait and watch Laurie have another dream vision of the mother or the horse. Like, it's just like, it's too much in the film, and I think most people agree that that's completely unnecessary. But then you get into the real heart of this negative, and that is that Michael Myers is doing all of this because his mom is telling him to do it. She's telling him, hey, we need to get the family together. Go get Laurie. You know what to do. It's Halloween night. Go do it. And you just didn't need that. Like, you already have something set up here. Michael Myers wants to go get his sister. Whether he wants to kill her or just be with her, it's never very clear, but that's what this movie does once again, is they just kind of muddy the waters. They say Michael Myers has to return on Halloween, and he has to do it because his ghost mom is doing it. Why is his ghost mom doing it? Maybe she's evil, although she was never evil in that first movie. If anything, she was probably the best person in Michael's life, and then eventually took her own life in that first movie because she couldn't deal with the trauma anymore. And so in this film, she's kind of egging Michael on the entire time, or she's showing up in Laurie's dream talking about, we're all going to be together soon. And it's like, why? Why do you need to include that? Listen, I respect the absolute hell out of Rob Zombie for putting his wife in all of his movies. I do. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's kind of beautiful that Rob Zombie includes his wife. Find a different way. Make her a different character. What are you doing? In the first movie, she's quite possibly one of the only redeeming characters in Michael Myers' life, and she even can't deal with that trauma. But the fact that he killed her, I thought it was bold. And then you get into the second movie and it's like, oh no, my wife has to be in this. We're going to make her the ghost, and there's going to be a white horse because there's going to be a white horse. We're never really going to explain it. And I know there's symbolism there. It's talking about the innocence of Michael Myers and how he sees his mom, but Laurie can see that too. And so clearly this is like an actual character within the film, sort of egging all of this chaos and killing on, when her character in the first movie was never like that, so it doesn't make any sense. And that's something that's always irritated me about this movie. Again, it just takes me out of the movie every time that she comes on the screen with that white horse. But even with the story being a bit convoluted, overall, every time time I watch this, I have a great time with the movie, and maybe it is a bit of that nostalgia of this being the first Halloween film I saw on the big screen, but I think the movie is brutal as hell. If you're looking for a brutal Michael Myers movie, this one is right at the top. There's a lot to love about the atmosphere and the characters in this movie as well. But guys, those are just my opinions because that's my review for Halloween 2. Have you guys had a chance to see this film? If you have, let me know about it in the comment section down below. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me. I always love hearing all your comments. And finally, guys, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button because it helps the video, it helps the channel, and it helps me right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Alright guys, we got to the end of my Rob Zombie Halloween 2 film, and I had such a fun time making this video. I love getting my thoughts out for this movie finally, and I can't help but wonder what Rob Zombie's Halloween 3 would have been like. Would we have seen Laurie Strode continue on as the evil? Would we have gotten Michael Myers back once again? Or would he have gone the Season of the Witch route, and would we have gotten his version of Season of the Witch? Could you imagine the gory details that he would have put into a Season of the Witch film? That's a cool idea. But we never got that. We ended up getting another trilogy, and those are the 3 movies that I'll be talking about next. But until then, if you want to check out any of the other content on my channel, well, I've got my entire Halloween movie review series playlist right there, and I've got all of my horror movie reviews right there.